right. Okay.
We're live.
We are live. I'm going to close that and I'm going to close that. Close. Okay. Hi, everyone. Another Sunday night of Artist Conversations. And this week we are having Lindsay Keating of the Cabinet of Curious Clay with us. And for those of you who might have seen Lindsay, she is no longer in the Twin Cities with us. She is in
outside of Philadelphia.
There it was. Okay. So can you introduce yourself to everyone out in the world?
Sure. I'm Lindsay. I did live in Minnesota for 12 years, which is how I know Danielle and some folks at OAC and in the Minneapolis arts community. I moved back home to Pennsylvania 2 years ago now.
Do you miss us terribly? Aren't you going to come running back to us? Right.
I miss you, Danielle, and your husband.
He's pretty fabulous. So what kind of artist are you?
I am a ceramicist or potter. I like to say ceramicist because that encompasses non-functional work, whereas pottery just means functional work like mugs and bowls and things you can use.
Okay. So can you, I know that you have like your infamous pumpkins right there in front of you. So like, are you saying that Jack-O-Lantern is not a functional piece of pottery?
I mean, it's decorative. It does function. It keeps evil spirits away. No. But like just like doing like a decorative piece that, you know, like just sits there is like sculptural. Whereas like if you throw a mug and you're using it every day. So that's the difference. Or like, you know, you could do like a ceramic sculpture or like wall hanging, stuff like that. And that would be, you know, just considered ceramics.
So why wouldn't you because I know sculpting people who are sculptors and they don't go around being like, I'm an luminist, you know, with aluminum as the material. Why is it important to say I'm a ceramicist with my material?
Yeah, I guess, well, because like clay is the material, like the base material. I don't know, man. I'm not sure. Those are some good questions. But yeah, ceramics is a different bear.
I mean, like when I think of a ceramicist, and like I guess like I had an artist conversation with Rock, and like he's mixed potter.
Yeah.
He went through the whole process of how it all works. But like for a refresher, can you kind of like, because I didn't do ceramics, so it looks like magic to me. What did you do?
Do you want me to do the process?
Yes, please.
Like
yes.
the quick, like the Cliff Notes version?
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
Oh man, ceramics is it's such a pain in the ass, guys, like for real. Like I'll never forget at the ceramic supply store that I go to, one of the staff members there, she said, ceramics will break your heart. And I'm like, yes, it will. Because it is full of failure and just things can go wrong at like any point. So, okay, I'll give you like a rundown of how it works. So let's work with pottery. So you take a hunk of clay and you throw it on the pottery wheel. So the term throwing, it just means you're putting clay on a spinning wheel and you're using water to manipulate the clay into like round shapes. So like you can make, you know, a mug, or you can make a vase or a bowl. And then after you throw it on the wheel, it has to dry a little bit. So it goes through a few phases. So it goes from like wet to leather hard is what we call it. When it's like, it's not too dry, like there's still water in the clay body. So once it's like leather hard, then you put it back on the wheel and you trim it because it's kind of like chunky at the bottom and you want to make like a nice foot ring and maybe like smooth it out or whatever. So after you trim it, then it has to dry until it's bone dry. So like most of the water is out of it. And then once it's bone dry, you can fire it in the kiln and you do what's called a bisque firing. So it's like a lower, it's kind of like a lower heat in the kiln. Like I fire to a temperature, it's cone 05, and cone is just like a stand-in for temperature really. So it goes up to 1,888 degrees around there. That's what I bisque to. And it usually runs, my kiln is like kind of medium size, I guess. And it takes anywhere from 7 to 12 hours to fire, depending on what I'm doing. And then it takes like maybe 12 to 16 hours to cool. And so once it cools, then I unload the pieces from the kiln and they've hardened into like the hard ceramic material. And the reason that a lot of potters do a bisque firing, now some people just do one firing. I won't get into all this craziness, but you do a bisque firing because you want the glaze to be able to adhere to the piece. And if you have like a wet piece of clay or even a bone dry piece and you dip it into wet glaze, you're just gonna have a wet mess. So by firing it, you kind of like, it's now like a hard piece of ceramic that you can dip into glaze and the glaze will stay on it. And so after you glaze it, then you put it back in the kiln for glaze firing, and that goes to a hotter temperature. I fire mid-range because that's just easiest for me. It's kind of the most accessible because you have to get clay and glazes that go to the proper temperature. So there's low fire, mid fire, and high fire, and you need to make sure you're using like the correct materials. That's just like one little drop in the bucket too. It's crazy. I feel like I don't know anything about ceramics sometimes because it's like an endless world.
You can't say that you don't know anything because like everything
Well, I just said a bunch of stuff. Yeah.
that's like already a ton of information.
Yeah.
And so I know when you were in Minnesota that you you had a shared studio that you worked with because all of that equipment is quite expensive.
Yes. A kiln could be like $2,000 to $10,000. It just depends. I feel like kind of like a standard kiln, if you're buying it new, is like, you know, 2,500 to 4,500.
So no matter what, like unless you are ready to build yourself a studio on your own, like you're probably like when you moved, you were looking for a location that you had to find like a studio that exists.
Yes, like okay, if you do digital art or painting or knitting or pretty much anything else, you could just like take a little room in your house and like put a nice table and like do your thing. Not with pottery, because let me tell you, I tried that. I had I had a wheel in my apartment in Minneapolis, and I was like, well, maybe I'll try to like throw at home a little bit. No, the clay just shifted and started taking over my kitchen, and I'm like, I can't eat. Like I can't have the clay. It's just it's commingling. It's not safe, and it's literally all over my apartment. And then also, I mean, if you're doing any kind of firing, you have to have, you know, the kiln has to have very particular work requirements. Like it has to be in a ventilated basement or garage or outside or whatever. You can't just like do it at home unless you completely outfit and like build a studio. So that's another kind of barrier with ceramics. Like you were saying, in Minneapolis, I was at a community studio. So I was kind of at the mercy of their hours and when they decided to fire my work. And that was super stressful. And I was sharing a kiln with, you know, like 40 other people or something. And I mean, and it's not meant to be, you know, a business. Like it's meant for like hobby potters, just for fun. And I started, you know, doing it more and more like, okay, this is more for a business. And like this community thing is not working for me. I can't get anything through the kilns. And, you know, it's just to have that control and to have my own space is huge.
So what are you doing now?
So I moved back home and I was like, I will have to find a studio because like I don't know what to do. So I found another community studio kind of like close by, and I worked out of there for a while, and I'm like, this is the same like situation as before except worse. So I really like the hours were limited. So I was like, okay, I got to find an artist building or something. And somehow I found an artist building 12 minutes down the road from me.
Nice.
And I don't live in like a very like populated area. I mean, it's in a town called Coatesville, which is kind of like a little, you know, that's bigger than like a rural farm town or something. But yeah, I was really surprised. I thought I'd have to go to Philly and drive like an hour just to get to a studio. So I did find this place, and it's a 5-story old furniture warehouse.
Cool.
So it's like all like, you know, old industrial, like concrete or whatever. And it's in a constant state of construction, which is extremely frustrating. And, you know, they're just like developers that don't actually care about community. They just want money, but whatever. It's a space, so I'm happy. And there's more and more artists moving in and like different small businesses, which is really cool. Like I wanted to be in an artist building because like that is something at the community studios that I miss, is the connection with other artists. So like I have a friend in the building who's a tattoo artist, and I hang out with her, and like we've traded, and like she has a couple of my pieces in her tattoo shop. And yeah, there's like more artists coming in, but I feel like, I don't know, like it's harder to find artists out here, I guess, because it seems like it's more small businesses, and that kind of bums me out because I'd like it to be artists, you know, so I can like collaborate more. But it's still fun. It's still like small businesses.
I never really thought about like, I guess like, you know, you always hear about like writers going out into a cabin in the woods to write poetry because like that's what they need. And you know, like I've heard some artists be like, I'm introverted, I need to be by myself, I need to do these things to create my art.
Yeah.
And it's like we prosper with more artists around us as we have this community and connection with everyone. And what you're saying is like, I don't know if I have ever been around without another community of artists.
Mm-hmm.
That is making me feel really grateful, and I'm sad for you and I miss you. so,
Oh.
so I guess like, you know, it's silly to think, but I just want like, as everybody is listening and hearing that, like how important it is to keep learning from each other.
Yeah. I mean, you know what I've done, Danielle, is I've kind of shifted to finding my art community online, because since, you know, that, I mean, like I said, there are some artists out here, but mostly I connect with artists when I do markets, like when I go to Philly and Jersey and I do markets. And then also online, I mean, I'm super active on Instagram, and I have a lot of really cool artist friends on Instagram, a bunch that I've never even met, some that I met on Instagram and then met in person, which was really cool. And we support each other. We have like Instagram chats, and we do giveaways and different things to connect, which is cool.
That's so good, Lindsay. That's so good. Like that's so like
You were
like tell me about like, you know, I'm going to ask this question, and then I know that people probably want to see some of your work too, but like,
that's okay. Well, it's right here.
I know, look at those. It's so beautiful. I have someone, one of my neighbors wants one of your jack-o'-lanterns so hard.
Tell her good luck.
kind of what's been happening. She's like, I tried.
What's that?
Like I tried it. She almost like she's been working from home because of COVID, and she was gonna go into her empty office building because they have better internet so that she could try and get one of your pumpkins.
Oh, that's so sweet. I feel bad because it's like they take, they're just so much time. And like, I know like everybody wants one. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to have like 15 in my next update. And I know like so many people want them. And I'm just like, I'm sorry, I'm working as fast as I can. I have to take a day off. I don't take off almost ever. Like I'll take like one weekend day. I usually work like every day.
So let's talk about that because I think that like, people don't understand that when you are a working artist that you are working constantly. Like
Yes, constant.
You are a small business and
Yeah.
like you are also your product.
Yeah.
You
Yes. Marketing is huge, it
Talk about
really is. And if, I don't know if you wanted to talk to me about my background or if you rather I can move into kind of like marketing and that kind of thing. It's up to you.
let's start with your background first.
Okay.
Because I don't
And
know
then
everything about your background.
you don't, my
No.
dear.
I mean, I know that you were in a super cool band that you played like the clarinet, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't you have my album?
No, I don't.
I should mail you an album.
Totally. I would totally be into it so hard.
All right.
So,
I'll send you the links because you can listen on Bandcamp too.
yes, let's do it. Okay, tell me your life story so hard because I want to know everything about you.
So hard, Danielle. I'm
So
gonna
hard. Tell me.
okay, let's see. Well, I feel like I didn't actually get into art per se until I was in high school. Like I didn't really actually like not till I was at the end of high school. Like a lot of people were lucky they had art classes in high school. Maybe you took a pottery class in high school. Yeah, well, I went to Catholic high school. Okay. I was in friggin' religion class. It blew. And I didn't get to do art. I had to like listen to them spout their nonsense. So
You not have art classes?
we had one art class for 4 years. You can take art 1 and art 2. That's it. So I like took the class and I was like, oh shit, I can draw. And of course, I think they were disturbed probably by whatever I was drawing. And then I just remember I had a poster of Trent Reznor in my bedroom as a teenager. And I was like, I'm gonna just like look at the poster and like just draw with a pencil. I knew like nothing. And I was like, that came out good, like for not knowing anything. So then I started to get more into it, I suppose. And then really like when I went to college is when I was like, oh, I can take drawing, I can take painting. So I went to Temple University in Philly and my focus was literature and specifically creative writing. So I was mostly a poet and I was writing poetry. And that was my focus. I did like experimental poetry. I did crazy shit. I like built a wooden box and wrote a poem on the inside of it and like performed from inside the box. And I would like read one of the walls and then kick it down. I don't know. Anyway, that was experimental poetry. And then I got into like just like the crafting world. I got into sewing and knitting and crocheting. So I was just like, I was like knitting scarves and hats and I don't know, I just taught myself, I guess. And then I taught myself how to sew. Yeah, because I didn't like take a class in sewing or any sort of like needlework. But my great grandmother was a seamstress and like she made wedding party dresses. So I don't know if it's just in my genes or what. So I started sewing bags and I remember the first time I sold my art, yeah, it was probably like 19 in Philly. They have an event called First Fridays and like all the galleries are open, whatever. And then little little people like me would throw a blanket out on the sidewalk and just like throw your art out there and try to sell it. And I did it a handful of times. I like sold my little clutch bags and I was like, oh my God, you know, I made $150, which was really cool. And then of course, academically, I took drawing, painting, black and white, manual photography. This was like before digital was big, you know, so now I sound old. But I really loved like being in the dark room. And I was I was like mixing my poetry with my photography and that was really cool. So yeah, so I was doing all that. I told you I have a crazy like varied background. Like I've put my hand in a lot of art. So I suppose then I got into like the crafting more, right? And like the craft markets. And I started a business called KM Stitchery. While it started out being my little like applique bags and whatnot, I started doing hand cut stencils of feminists printed on recycled t-shirts.
Okay.
It was super cool. like nobody was doing that. This was like 15 years ago or something, 10 years ago, I don't know. I was like hand cutting the stencils, whatever, and I was like, yeah, I'm recycling and feminism, and that was cool. And I sold at markets and stuff. I did a renegade in Chicago one time with a couple friends. So yeah, I was doing KM Stitchery for a while, and then you know, money and stuff. So I got, you know, I had regular jobs and everything. Okay, so then artistically, I suppose when I was in Minneapolis, I was still doing KM Stitchery. And then at some point, oh, okay, this is how it happened. I got into music. Okay, so my friend Sarah Green and I were spending a lot of time together, hanging out. I had a background playing clarinet as like a child, and she had a background singing and playing cello, and we just like hung out all the time. And I don't know what possessed us, but we just were like, oh, like we should play music together. Like somehow that came about. And then we just really got into, and we were both into like feminism and Victorian literature and like costumes. And so we started a band called The Great Confinement. And it was me, her, and eventually my friend Evan. And he played drums, and we dressed up like in Victorian clothes and wrote these crazy songs about female insanity in Victorian literature. And it was awesome. And we played shows like, you know, in Minneapolis, like at the Kitty Cat Club and just the Turf Club, all over the city, but we never toured or anything.
Let me ask you, I got to stop you for just a second.
I know, I'm sorry. It's a long background.
No, it's like, and this is where like, you know, like last week we were talking to Kat, and like, I feel like every time I keep talking to an artist, like I have no idea that like even for the people that I know that like, it sounds like you're working like 8 jobs.
Oh my God. You mean like right now or just
Like
throughout my life?
Like it seems like this must be something that is like a common vein for a lot of the artists that I know, where it's like,
oh my God, totally. You have to be an accountant, Jesus, come on, PR, promoting, marketing,
all of these things.
You have to be a photographer. You have to, it's crazy, you know, you have to be a website designer. It's literally, like you said, it's like 8 jobs. And then you're like just making enough money to be okay.
You did not go to school for art. It was, you were already pursuing a career with writing. And like, I knew you as a librarian.
Yeah, I suppose. So I wasn't really pursuing a career in writing. I was just pursuing, I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I just knew like I wanted to study literature. And then I shifted at some point, like I had been working in libraries and I was like, okay, well, this is cool. Maybe I could do this for like a regular job. So I was like, okay, I'm going to go to grad school for library science. So I studied that, and that's a whole nother crazy story.
How did you do all of these things, as well as being a social butterfly and running all of the different shows that you've ran on your own? How did you do that?
Sheer will. I don't know. I mean, because like you have to tell me what period of time, because I've done like a different batch of things in different periods of time. So like, I mean, at one time I was going to grad school for library science, working at the public library in Minneapolis, and interning unpaid at, one of my many, I did like 5 unpaid internships, and I was in a band. And I think I had and then I had a boyfriend. It was just like, and a dog. How did I balance it all? I don't know. I did though.
But this is common. Like all the artists that I know, I mean, it's not exactly your story, but all of a sudden it's like we're living like this weird multiverse of parallel versions of ourselves at the same time.
Yeah. And then also, I feel like, some people take like a straight path. Like, I want to be an artist. I'm going to go to art school. I'm going to do art. And maybe you mess around with different mediums. Whereas I totally went like the academic route. And I was always like doing art on the side and like teaching myself and like, doing different things and like meeting different people, So yeah, I don't know. It just kind of, it's been a quite a zigzag for me, and a lot of being self-taught or just like figuring out on my own. And also, I think because I've always sold at craft fairs and things like that, that kind of helped me too. I think I just have an innate like sense of business, like I think I just am good at being like an entrepreneur, and that helps a lot. And if I could rewind and do it all over again, I would go to school for art and business, really, because there is just so much to learn. And a lot of people think, oh, I'll just make really good art and then I'll get there. That's like one piece, that's not, if you don't know how to photograph it, it won't translate and no one will like it. If you don't know how to, build a website or pay someone to build a website, no one's going to be interested. Think about like product and marketing. I mean, packaging is important. I buy candles that have nice labels. I'm sorry. I do. If it has a plain label, and you could take 2 candles that smell the same. If one has better art on it, I'm going to buy that one.
I was just talking about that with wine, which I realized I didn't bust open a glass of wine.
Oh yeah, you need to do that.
But I realized that like I'm never gonna be like, who's over there?
Oh, it's just my dad. Dad.
Oh, hi, Dad.
You're distracting me. Anyway, go ahead.
But like I really like drinking wine. It's
yeah.
And I already have enough hobbies to get into. I really don't need to figure out how to make wine better. And I don't know how to be a wine connoisseur, and not that fancy. Like I'm just not.
Yeah.
Now I only buy wine that has pretty labels. And when people are like, what kind of wine do you want? I'm like, bring me the prettiest label, please.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. I was just going to bring up wine. I'm the same way. I have no idea about wine at all. And I'm like, oh yes, I am loving that label. That's what I'm buying. Yeah, it's true. It's very true.
So upset. What wine do I have?
What?
I was like, there's all this wine next to me, but I didn't grab any. I will in a minute.
So, okay, so back to my background. You want me to finish kind of the background? Okay, so like I was in a band, and then that band broke up, and then I started a second band, and then that band broke up. And then I was like, I don't want to rely on other people to make art. Like this art is not going to happen if I can't, just make it happen on my own. Like I didn't want to rely on someone else. You know what I'm saying? Like if you're like trying to do something and it's like, it can't get done without so-and-so. No, I didn't like that, because you know, it's frustrating, you know, to rely on other people. But then I found out working out of a community studio is, you know, you also are at some people's mercy. So, but that's when I got into ceramics. I was just like, I need a creative medium. I need, you know, something to do that I can just do on my own. And I'd always kind of wanted to try ceramics. And so that's when I think in 2014 is when I started ceramics. And yeah, I just like dove in and like became obsessed, and I've just been doing it ever since. And I learned a lot working out of community studios for sure, because, you know, there was ceramic technicians or like teachers that were there that you could ask them questions and they would like demo stuff for you. But I learned a lot on my own too, just like reading a ceramics magazine or like, you know, just looking on YouTube, like, oh, how do I do this one technique? So yeah.
Sorry, I was trying
I was like,
well, I'm gonna bring up your I'm gonna share my screen so that we can look at some of your artwork.
okay, cool. And I'm not looking at like the Facebook chat or anything, so I don't know.
I'm having some problems with it. Sorry, everyone. It's Facebook has changed what they're doing, and so like I can't just have it up. It starts categorizing the comments of like which ones are the most active, or like sometimes if people are responding to it at a certain time, and it's no longer coming linear like I want it to.
Oh, that's
You might have to, Lindsay, you might have to go and like check them on your own afterwards.
sure.
But
That's okay.
and I'm getting other notifications that are happening. But this is your website, which is amazing.
Oh, thanks. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's nice. I could revamp it, but I
So,
don't
yeah,
I
we
don't
can-
spend as much time on it because I don't sell on there.
Sure.
If I started selling on there, I would definitely like overhaul it.
So let me tell you why I think it's amazing. Is
Oh, okay.
you carry like, and I like we can always improve ourselves, and there's always a time and a place for every piece of artwork, I believe. You know,
Yeah.
so there's always something. But the reason that I think that your website is amazing is that you keep your brand across everything.
Yeah.
So like even though that like you know you're like I'm ready for a change, yeah, you might be ready for a change, but I can see that like all of these pieces that you add on here,
Mhm.
everything is the same.
Yeah, I
can
Matt Wells, you know, did my logo, Lizard Man. And I just tend to take that and just I kind of take the logo he designed and just like cut it up or change it around or something, but it's like always the same kind of design.
So these are more of your famous pumpkins.
Yes. And then I have to have a whole like FAQ for the pumpkin purchasing.
Well, here, I'm gonna hop over to your Instagram because it's got more pictures to look at everything.
Oh yeah.
Um,
It would
and
be great, like if people want to follow me and like keep up with me. I'm very, very active on Instagram. That's where I post everything. That's where I post about like my shop updates and things like that.
so these pumpkins, the popularity
Pumpkins are
is
making me thirsty.
these pumpkins, everybody wants one.
Yeah.
So how did you start making a pumpkin? What happened?
I don't know, Danielle. I just go into my studio and I make stuff and my mom says, "What did you do at the studio today?" And I say, "I don't know. I just went in and whatever was there, I did, and I don't know what I did." So I'm trying to think now. Pumpkins.
So let me,
I
let me
think.
a little
Oh, I feel like I had a customer that was like, "You should make jack-o'-lanterns or something." I don't know. I tried them out like 2 years ago, and they looked you know, they were kind of sad, I feel. The first like 3 that I made. I don't know. I think maybe a customer like was like, you should make a jack-o'-lantern. Maybe that's how I started it. I'm not sure.
You're like,
I
sounds
don't
good.
even know.
But, like I think that of the work that I've seen of yours, you kind of have like a spooky kid vibe. You definitely fall into like Halloween 365 days a year.
It's true.
As you randomly pull out a pumpkin man. Like, hold on, let me just like reach over out a screen and like grab something spooky. Let's see if I can.
Wait, I could do that like several more times.
Oh, wait.
I have a skull, Danielle.
Okay. So you going with your background and everything that you had, we already started like way in high school you had Trent Reznor poster up. I mean, I'm with you on being like the spooky kid for life, like and then you move on into like literature and poetry, and then like even it goes further and stuff. So where is the curiosity in the macabre and the dark?
That just came from, when I was a teenager, my friend Jess, who might be watching, her and I kind of like, we were best friends and we got into like the goth stuff together and the music, just like goth music, industrial music. So it kind of started there. And then I had and then like reading Gothic literature. Like I was like really into that too, and like studying literature. So it kind of came from both of those things.
But there's a difference of like being in that, and because this always, I feel like, being that goth kid, like what you hear like a lot of the times is like, it's always the worst in a lot of ways. Like it's a phase, you're a devil worshiper, like all of these things, you are the darkest that you possibly can be. But here is Lindsay making adorable pumpkins.
Yeah,
Like,
it's a friendly thing.
in the long spectrum of what, kill you to your core,
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that your pumpkins are it. Like, this is fun.
Yes, it's like spooky cute.
Yeah.
Is the term. Yeah.
But I've also,
It is spookier, but most of it's kind of like spooky cute. Okay, so check that out. That's a collaboration I did with my friend Antea, who is also a potter. She makes baby doll head pottery by using vintage baby doll molds.
that's amazing.
So she pours like liquid clay into the mold. So she came to my studio a couple weeks ago and she brought like 5 plain mugs, and then I did all the decorating and glazing and firing. So yeah, some of them are pretty demented.
Oh, I love it. Love it so much.
Yay.
And then let me ask it, like, because I know that from working with you in the past, like you do a lot of the graphic design and stuff on your own too.
Yeah.
Like, did you make that?
Yeah, kind of. Basically, Matt Wells again did my logo for Darksome. So like the font, the Darksome Art and Craft Market, like he did that, but then I riff off of it with like the rest of it. So I use the fonts and stuff. I don't know if you want to talk about Darksome for a minute, or we could talk about it later. It's up to you. So I run Darksome Art and Craft Market. So that's my second business. I do Cabinet of Curious Clay, making art, and I do Darksome Art and Craft Market, curating art. And I started in 2019. I had 5 shows last year, and I had several scheduled for this year that I had to cancel. But Danielle and I were in Strange Girls together, and I led like the event planning for the group. So I did event planning with them, and I had done it kind of at one of my library jobs too. So I had always thought about like opening a store or something that sold handmade. And then I just really liked the idea of running a market. Like I really like organizing like information, which maybe is the librarian in me, you know. I like to organize information and manage things. So it's really awesome if you guys check it out. The hyperlink, Danielle, is right there in like the text. It's Darksome Craft MKT. So if anybody wants to check that out, I've got 75 artists at my next virtual market next weekend.
That's amazing.
So yeah, the link is like in the text of this post here.
Okay. So what I was trying to get to the link.
Oh, just scroll up other way. The handle, there it is. Yeah.
So, you know, we are all moving into this virtual platform.
Yeah.
It's hard and it's different and people are adapting. What are you learning from this?
I really like the virtual platform. I'm kind of like, hey, I like this better than the physical markets because it's way less stressful. Like I don't have to book food trucks and venues and just like it's just so many things, which I still enjoy. But like I really like the virtual platform. I am definitely learning like about curating. I'm learning about photography and artist expectation. I don't know, man. I'm learning just everything.
This when you're doing the virtual market, is it on a website? Are you doing it on an Etsy? Like, where are you hosting it?
It's if you scroll up, if you click on the website right there, that's where I'm hosting it. So I made the website, and if you scroll down, you can click on Shop Now, and this is where it's like an amalgamation of everybody. So I've got all the artists on this webpage here, and all of the photos hyperlink to their online shops, all of the handles underneath in orange link to their Instagrams, and then a bunch of them, as you can see, are offering like a sale just for the weekend, or they're donating a portion of their sales from the weekend. And so it's nice because this is a good landing spot and everybody can, you know, keep this open and click on the shop links that they want and browse and everything. So normally this market, every day is Halloween. It's going to be hosted every October at Mount Moriah Cemetery. And last year we hosted it at Mount Moriah Cemetery in Philadelphia, which is a abandoned cemetery, the largest in Pennsylvania. It's 200 acres. And I don't want to get too deep in, but there's a long, very interesting history. So the Friends of Mount Moriah Cemetery are kind of running it right now. And because we can't have the event there this year, I still would like to raise money for them. And so a lot of the artists, I was like really so happy that a lot of them were like donating a small percentage of their sales from the weekend to Mount Moriah, because last year the door sales, we raised over $6,000 for the cemetery.
Oh, that's
so
amazing.
yeah, it's really cool. And actually, if you follow on Instagram, I'm trying to post like little tidbits of information about Mount Moriah just to like keep it connected to the event. If you scroll down, there's a post I did of Houdini in Mount Moriah Cemetery. There it is. That's Houdini visiting Robert Heller's grave. And he was like a famous magician that was a predecessor of Houdini.
Nice.
And it's really full of history, the cemetery. So it became a complete overgrown, abandoned place. By 2011, it was just crazy. And this group of people, the Friends, just came in and they volunteer their time and they do all the, managing, landscaping and taking care of the grounds. So it's pretty crazy.
That is so cool.
It's so cool. And the market was amazing last year. Oh my gosh, it was around a 1 mile loop. I had 92 artists. The friends were like all there. They were all helping me, like event staff. We had food trucks. We had 1,200 people that came. So it was fantastic.
What's the weather like in Pennsylvania when it's like around that time? Is it as cold as Minnesota can be? Like, do you get shifting weather with that?
No, I mean, last year we had it in August. Okay. I was like, oh, I'll do it like at the end. It was a blisteringly hot day and tons of people told me that. I was like, I know it was very hot. I'm so sorry. Next year we'll do it in October, I promise. And now it's online. So 2021, hopefully it'll be in October. And October here is like, the only things is it could be rainy as a possibility, but just like a little chilly. It's not like it is in Minnesota where it's awful. The weather is a nightmare. Come on, you know it, Danielle.
It is. It is. I mean, it is very beautiful right now, but we're in our peak colors, but it's going to happen real fast.
It's going downhill like any moment. Oh.
So I'm going to cruise through some of these. This
Yeah.
is so funny, Lindsay, that
Oh,
we have like 10 minutes left.
Okay, really quick. Click on the plain clay.
This one?
Yes. This is a process video you guys might like to see. There I am carving the jack-o'-lantern. So this is just, you can kind of see the stages a little bit. I did like a reel, the new thing on Instagram is like the reel or whatever. So kind of cool. People seem to enjoy that. So yeah, you're like, we have 10 minutes left. So what would you like to discuss in these 10 minutes, Danielle? How much you miss me? How you want to lick my eyeballs?
Your eyeballs really hard. I miss you. I wish you were back, but that's
What?
okay. I said I wish you were here and back. I miss you so much. You're fun to hang out with. You're fun to plan events with. Like Lindsay and I planned a lot of events together, and it was like it was strong and it was easy to do, and you're fun to play with. So it's like,
I know. I miss like you're such you're like also like a strong female like arts leader, and I feel like and I feel like the two of us together, like like the what are they called? The power people with the rings. Power Rangers.
no, not Power Rangers.
We just we'll put like our hands together and we'll just like make a magic.
Wonder Twins activate.
Yes. I want you to come out here and like do a market.
I would love to. I've been working on dollhouses and stuff and some other things, but nothing that's been really serious. COVID's been pretty hard for me because
Really?
I lost a lot of my like shows and everything that I was doing. So I've just been like trying to figure out how to adapt the best that I can.
Yeah. So. I smiled because I saw Juan back there.
There he is, hanging out in his luchador mask. I feel like it's like Uncle Fester, like when they're talking to Debbie, like he likes you. Like he's just doing this because he knows that you're on the other end right now.
Oh, I miss you guys so much. You guys are so fun. Aren't you both from California?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I
didn't think
you were.
I have the Minnesota accent now. Like I've been here long enough that like it's like I feel like this is my home. Like I
feel like this is my home. So I just start talking like this.
Tina.
I never stopped saying water. Like it just, everyone looked at me funny in Minneapolis. And then when I moved back home, nobody looked at me funny.
And these
Yeah, I
These
do
are-
a lot of hand painting with underglazes on my pieces too. It's all like stream of consciousness kind of stuff. I do I guess I would call myself a decorator. Like, there's different types of pottery you can do. A lot of people just maybe they're really into the form, or maybe they're really into the glazing and like the glaze combinations. And some people, how like dudes in bands are like really into their gear. There's like a lot of like dudes in pottery, like really into the glaze chemistry. and probably ladies too, but I just really like the decorating. And I mean, I play with form, as you can see in like that big vase. But I like to just like do a standard form and like just play around with design and stuff. The technique that I do on pottery is called sgraffito, and it's a technique of carving through. So like the bottom two pieces you have up on the screen, like the skull and the plague doctors. So I paint after the piece has been thrown, trimmed, and it's leather hard. I paint it black and then I carve through the black. So that's where the image comes out. So, as opposed to painting, you're like carving out the design, which I really enjoy doing. And that's like a pottery technique. And it's kind of like, I like the look of like old wood blocks and prints and stuff, like wood carvings. And so it's kind of reminiscent of that.
So there is a piece of artwork that I told you about, which is the reason that I sought you out to be your friend.
Oh,
That I'm kind of like looking for, but because you post so often, it may not be here, but
I know where it is and I know what you're going to say.
Yeah, where is it?
You're talking about my sculptural set that I did.
Yes.
Yeah, it's like deep back in this in Instagram, but if you go to my website, it'll be faster to find.
All right.
Yeah, go up to, maybe I took it down. Shoot, I think I took it down. I had like a portfolio and then I was like, I don't have that much in here, and I took it down. So back to there. Okay, should I just talk about what it is?
Talk about what it is.
And that's when you want to be my friend.
Yes, that's the piece.
You were like, I'm a feminist too. And then we like became
There's
friends.
sometimes that I see people's artwork out in the world and I'm like, I really want to just talk to you. Like I want to, and I just like
and then sometimes they're like really snooty and you're like, oh, never mind.
You're like, fine, I will go find new friends that
Friends.
also have cool artwork that I can talk to about it too.
Yeah. So Danielle's talking about she came to one of our Strange Girls events like before she joined. And I had created I haven't done many sculptures, like straight up sculptures. I slab built 3 sculptural pieces that were, it's like a giant mirror, a giant comb, and a giant brush. And they kind of looked like the Victorian style, like the metal with like the filigree and that kind of thing. And then but it was mixed media because the comb, instead of having like the prongs or whatever, I replaced that with porcupine quills. So it was like a comb with porcupine quills. And then the brush, instead of bristles, I glued in razor blades, which I think I only cut myself like once or twice somehow on like 50 razor blades.
Yeah,
what's that?
what? The 50 50 razor blades. You just kept cutting yourself to make this piece of artwork. That just makes it more cool.
I have to get through this. And I'm just like bleeding, like it's my art. No. But yeah, so I had that like as a set on display, and I believe I named it Beauty is Pain, Pain is Beauty, is Beauty Pain, is Pain Beauty. I did like the whole combo of words there. But yeah, that's when you first fell in love with me, Danielle.
And then I was like, I want to go play with these strange girls. I want to hang out with whoever made this piece of artwork. And I don't know what to do.
I don't know what to do. How did we meet?
I applied.
Is that how we met? Did I meet you through Gods and Monsters, your show?
I think that it might have been Gods and Monsters, but then my application was in process, and I just assumed that I didn't get in.
No, it's just that it was like, it's like all volunteers and.
Yeah. And so I think it took like 9 months to get my application back.
That wasn't me, trust me, because I'm like, we got to do this, we got to do that. And a lot of people I don't think liked that, but you got to keep moving. You got to, you can't, it's like if you don't do it and you slack, like it's not going to happen and you're going to lose momentum and have people waiting for 9 months, which is crazy. Somehow we became friends. That's what's important.
And then you left.
I know. You're the going, I will never forget the going away cake that you got for me. It said, for those of you who don't know, it was a rainbow on the cake, and she just had them write, "Please don't leave me."
I didn't want you to go. I was like, I just made this new friend, and I don't want you to leave.
I know. I'm just so glad I got to judge the men's Speedo competition before I left.
Yes.
That was hilarious.
So we have a lot of different events in the Minneapolis art scene. That is not one of them. That one happens in my backyard once a year at an event that we called Flesh Fest, which is a barbecue. And that is
a barbecue of flesh, to clarify.
Flesh. Yes. And it is a Speedo competition of all genders. And
oh, I'm sorry. Excuse me.
And it is fabulous. And we have a giant water slide, and it gets better and better every year. You really missed out on one year.
I mean, the guy that won when I was judging, that was pretty phenomenal. He kept removing.
Which one?
He kept removing a Speedo, and like the first time he did it, we're like, that's clever, there was another Speedo underneath. And then he did it again, we're like, oh my God. And then like we're like, oh my God, he just pulled off like 20 Speedos. How does he have that many on?
That is the real Matt Davis, everyone, that randomly does amazing performances. And yes, he also had the little Chippendale cuffs. And
yes, it was definitely, that's why he won for sure.
We have had some other boylesque events going on. We also had a giant sword fight, not in the way that you're thinking.
Okay.
A normal fight.
I wasn't thinking that until you said it.
But it was pretty fabulous.
Nice.
But we are just over our time, and I'm
never gonna see you again. It was just this 1 hour. I feel like I just like vomited out like, here's ceramics, here's my life, my whole life as an artist and like marketing, and here's a bunch of photos.
That's how we do this thing. That's how we
gotta cram it in, Juan. Hi.
This is nothing normal. So John, I hate Christmas.
Yeah.
And John dropped me off a book of like dark Christmas stories.
Ooh.
So we might do, because everything is virtual right now, we're considering doing a dark Christmas show.
a Krampus, if you will, or whatever the like Swedish one is, because everyone out there is Scandinavian.
So this book
Weasel something or whatever.
things besides Krampus in it.
No, cool. Very cool.
There's so many different things that he was telling me about because I'm just not convinced. I'm like, I hate Christmas, dude. Don't. He's like, no,
Like,
no, no.
He's like, let me tell you about the dark underbelly of Christmas.
So the dark underbelly might be happening, but I gotta do my research before.
That's so cool. Oh man, I would love to like come back for a Gods and Monsters show. I was planning on coming back for the Oddities and Curiosities Expo, and then it got pushed like twice because of COVID. I think it's set for next May, so I'm hoping I can do that one. And then I can come hang out with you all.
We're gonna just try and do our best during what's happening right now. And
yeah.
You know, like I think everybody is just like, what do we do? We're not really sure what's working, you know, like if you're saying that the virtual platform is working, but it looks like you have artists that were already ready to go virtually. Like you didn't go around taking all those photos for them. They had them.
No, I would die and need a lot more money. Yeah. No, you've got to be prepared. Like we were saying earlier, like, you know, I review a lot of applications, and like, there are some people that make amazing art and then their photos are not good. And I'm like, how am I going to promote this? Like, it's not going to look good. You know what I mean? Or like their website looks really bad, or it's like we said earlier, it's all important, you know, like that's what you got to draw people in. Also, I think if you need to put the same care into the way people see your work as you do into your work. Okay. So like, if you spend all this, you know, if I spend all this time making this and then I just take some shitty photo, like it's on the floor, there's a lighting, and then I put it on some crappy website, I'm like doing it a disservice and I'm not going to sell it. So I think it's all about the whole thing. You got to care about the whole thing. You got to put effort into the whole thing. You got to, and you know, you got to constantly be hustling and doing things. And I mean, honestly, Instagram is the best platform for artists, I think. I mean, I haven't tried this TikTok thing that these young kids are doing, but Reels is on Instagram, and I guess it's like TikTok. So I don't know. Instagram's like a wonderful platform for artists. I can't tell you how awesome it's been. And I've just met so many amazing artists on there. I mean, people I talk to regularly and interact with regularly. It's just great. So it's being active. You got to promote yourself. I've met so many artists that like cannot promote themselves, and they're like phenomenal. And I'm like, you just got to do it. But then like there's people that make really bad art and they're like excellent at promoting, and I'm like, what are you doing? And then there's like the super talented person, like, I don't want anyone to see my beautiful creations because I think they look bad. And I'm like, no, they're wonderful. I mean, it's all subjective, but you know, I'm talking about like the obvious differences.
Your presentation is phenomenal, but I mean, like, you see that as you're also an event promoter. Like you like everything that you're saying. We go through the same issue, and like we don't want to be harsh with people. And now we've started like essentially like having a jury for all of our shows because we needed to have separation away from us. And on top of it, it was too much to manage. Like,
but also it's like you have to think about, I mean, it's hard for me because I'm like such an inclusive person and a community person, and I like to support people and that kind of thing. And like I hate to like reject people. Like it sucks. I feel like I'm being mean, but then at the same time, it's like I'm curating a market that I'm trying to make it successful. I want it to be really good. I want people to say, oh my God, the art at that market is like a next level. Like, you to stand out, you know, I can't just let everybody and anybody in, because then it's just not going to have a good name. It's not going to be, you know, promoting, you know, people who are dedicated and producing quality work. You know how it is.
Yep.
I mean, what do you think about that?
Well, I mean, like there was a time that it's like, I mean, I started doing shows because I felt like I was the last kid like picked in the schoolyard, you know, and it's because that I think I was just not going to the right spaces that would like want to
Yes.
show something like my stuff.
Yes.
Um,
Yeah, that's a part of it too.
and then like you know, I mean, I have super insecurities and I have um a lot of issues. Like I feel like the last couple of years I've been dealing with like severe art block that makes it like
You
really hard.
have, because I haven't seen a lot coming from you. And man, we need to have, I'll help you. We'll do like another talk, and I'll just like, I'll freaking get you through this art block. Like you're one, see, you're one of those people I was talking about that's like super talented, but like is like afraid to self-promote or put your stuff out there. But like your work is amazing, Danielle. And you have a succinct, like you have a, your color palette is really cohesive. It really signifies you, like your brushwork style and those dollhouses, girl. Those dollhouses, girl. Those are so cool.
You know,
You're like, don't talk about me.
I just I'm trying to be like I accept all those compliments and I will accept all the good things that he's saying. But in some ways, like I've also been doing a lot of stuff that's digital, and like
That's cool too.
that's what I do for my day job. And I come home and I'm like I'm exhausted. I've been
Yeah,
doing 3 hours a week.
dude.
Well, I'm not coming
Right.
home anymore, but I turn off my computer behind me and I'm like, no more, no
You
more
know
art.
what? You know what? That's kind of a battle that most artists face, right? It's like I've got this full-time job, and then I come home and I'm too tired to make art, you know? I mean, how can you possibly develop a business if you've got a full-time job? Because I tried, you know, I mean, I had, like we were saying earlier, I mean, I had two part-time jobs, and then I was going over to the pottery studio, and it was really hard to maintain, you know, to try to build my pottery business was like, I could only do little bits. You know, I didn't really get my Instagram going. I didn't, you know, really, I'd have to take off from work to go vend at an event. That's crazy, you know? So for many, many years, that's what I did. I did my art on the side, and it was hard and it's slow going. And sometimes you're too tired to work on it. And then I just, when nothing was working for me, like with finding a librarian job, I said, you know what? I'm jumping off, taking the plunge. And you know what? I made more money doing this than I did at my other library jobs where I was underemployed. And I was like, shit, that's amazing. I worked a lot more, but I liked what I was doing. I like what I'm doing.
I like what I'm doing now. I feel like we're like going further from your artist conversation, and we should probably
Come back to the Jack-O-Lantern.
Jack-O-Lanterns. We need to talk about the Jack-O-Lanterns and probably call it a night.
Yeah,
But
that's cool. You and I'll talk shop sometime.
I owe you an explanation.
You owe me an explanation, young lady. Okay, it's 9 o'clock and your curfew was 45 minutes ago.
Right. I thank you so much for doing this, and
You're
thank you for
welcome.
one of my spooky kids for the month of October, because I picked it all. I was like, no, I need the spookiest this month.
The scariest, the spookiest kids.
I need the Jack-O-Lantern queen tonight. That's what.
I can't accept that term, that wonderful. It's too good for me.
Tough kittens, Jack-O-Lantern Queen. That's who you are.
Tough kittens.
Yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
well, thank you for having me, Danielle. This was a blast. And for, I guess, the people on Facebook, if you left comments, I'm sorry that we didn't see them, but
I'll figure out a better system.
we'll figure it out.
So you might just want to like take a look and see what was going down there. So
Yeah, will we be able to see like who was watching or who commented or whatever?
you can't like I can't see exactly which person is watching, but usually within like after it's done and completed, because there's a little bit of a live stream lag. So like give it like an hour or something. Not that it takes an hour, but it'll give us better results in an hour. And I
Okay.
can tell you. So
Yeah, I'm just curious, like how many people tuned in or whatever. Sweet.
okay.
Okay.
I love you.
I love you. I miss you.
Mwah.
Mwah. Bye, Danielle.
Bye, Lindsay. Thank you
Bye,
so much.
everyone. You're so welcome.